Hey there, Titus. Can you hear me? Okay, cool. It looks like it might be just me and you. I know you had some questions, I don't know, a week ago, 2 weeks ago when we talked. Have you thought any more about getting a route? Well, to answer that question, Flowers is, I mean, they make great products. I don't know if you remember in the video that I did. When I owned a bread route, it was with Flowers, and I had it for about 14 years. They make some of the best products on the rack, in my opinion, but they also they're pretty intrusive. They say that you own your business when it benefits them, and they also want to keep taking. They change rules, they frustrate people, and people just get tired of it. I thought that maybe all these lawsuits that have happened with Flowers, I thought maybe that would calm them down. And from what I'm hearing from some of the guys, it's actually worse. You can make good money with them. I mean, but there's a lot of stress with it. I hope that helps you out. They also like to change line numbers on you, which frustrates people. Just thought about that. At Flowers, if you have restaurant product, which is it comes in a Flowers bag, and I'll use their 12 4-inch hamburger buns, for instance. They have, it says Flowers Foods and it has tabletop on them. Well, typically, if it's a Flowers product on the line number, or AKA order number, starts with 100. That's a Flowers product. Well, then they did this with Sonic. I don't know. I think it was after I left. They did this with Sonic. Sonic always had Flowers numbered products. Well, then they would say, well, Sonic wants their own line number. So they would create a number, just say it was 387 would be the first three digits. Well, the last five would still be the same digits as the Flowers product. But the kicker is when they do a branded product like that, you get in the exact same product. It's still the Flowers Foods tabletop 12-pack 4-inch hamburger buns. It just comes under a different line number. Well, essentially, what that does is it cuts your commission in half. You go from 20% to 10%, and you don't build equity in it. They're bad about that. They've done it with Sonic. They did it with Chick-fil-A. I think years ago, before I got there, they did it with Burger King. I'm trying to think what other companies they did it with. I know there's some other ones out there. I just can't think of them off the top of my head. What are your what exactly is it that you are looking for? What would you Might not be a good time to buy the flowers routes. It depends. Like right here in my area, they're actually the old warehouse manager called me about a month and a half ago and wanted me to buy a route with flowers. And he's been trying to get me to come back ever since I left 4.5 years ago. But this particular route actually was the very first route that I owned with flowers. I had it for about 2 years. Well, it's changed a lot since I've had it. And the seller, the owner of it, for what he's selling it for, he was just going to go straight 10-to-1 ratio, which is kind of unheard of nowadays, because when the contracts got changed with flowers, you can sell it for whatever you want, whether it's 15-to-1, 13-to-1, you can do that. But he's doing his 10-to-1 to try to get rid of it because he doesn't even live in the area anymore. He has somebody running it for him. So I think that route is a good one to do it with. But honestly, I mean, it's really hard to say whether right now is a good time. I mean, prices on everything are up. People are used to spending a lot more money on things right now. So I would think that the flowers guys might be trying to capitalize on that, just like people in the real estate market on houses and car dealerships marking up prices on cars. I mean, we just got inflation on food, gas is up. So, excuse me. So they may be trying to get a little bit more for it right now, but they could be. I do know they're having a little bit of a hard time trying to get good people to buy routes right now. My understanding is from a flowers guy that I used to work with, he's still there, and he's told me some of the requirements that they have, and they're some of the strictest that I've heard of on any of the routes. And I think it's hindering a lot of people from getting it. For instance, this fella's name that I was talking to, his name is Ken. Ken told me that not only are they requiring 10% down payment on the route, okay, let's just use easy numbers, $100,000 for the route. So they're requiring you to put down $10,000. Well, then they're also requiring you to have 10% in the bank for what ifs. Well, you're going to be making money on the route for those what ifs. I mean, that's the whole name of the game. And because they didn't require any of this stuff when I got hired on, they would finance the route 10-to-1, nothing down, and you were good to go. But he said that's one thing that they're having problems with, because they're having hard enough time to get the 10% up, but they're also having to have another 10% in the bank. So it's actually like you got to have 20% down. You don't mind me asking, what area are you in? Okay, you're not far from me then. I'm in the Charlotte area. I know that the Raleigh area is a good area to have bread routes. I mean, it's growing like crazy, just like Charlotte area is. And I know, I mean, there's just a ton of growth in this state. Well, when you go in, do you know if there's any routes in Raleigh for sale? Have you heard yet? Okay. What are some of the details on it? I mean, I think you had sent me some on through YouTube messaging me and YouTube. Too many. me see if I can dig those up real quick so you don't have to type everything. It's not going to let me do it, I don't think. Roxborough. I don't know the Roxborough area that well. I mean, do you have any pricing from these guys? What kind of ratio they're going for? What kind of weekly sales they do, or net sales? Do you have anything like that? I'll pay $166 for it. Okay. So 166. Do you know what the ratio is on that? Weekly sale. Okay. Sales 15K. Okay, is that weekly sale, is that gross or is that net? 11 to 1. I don't know if you heard me. Do you know if that 15K a week, if that's gross or net? According to my calculations, it should be net. Okay, what I mean in week sale average, what I'm meaning is he may take out, just say, $18,000 in the week, and then he brings back $3,000. That would be net. Okay, should be net. Okay. All right. If I'm not mistaken, Flowers is only going to finance up to 10 to 1 ratio. Last I heard, that's what they did. So that extra 1 to 1 that you got on there, which would be, let's see, which would be about $15,000. That completely is going to have to come out of your pocket. I don't know if they're still doing that. Like I said, I'm actually in contact with one of the guys at the bakery at Flowers Baking Company of Jamestown up by Greensboro. I've got an email into him right now trying to find out all requirements that Flowers is going to require nowadays. Because like I said, I've been gone for 4.5 years, so things have changed a little bit, and they were a lot different when I was there. But it's like any type of requirements. If there's a selling fee when you sell the route, if there's a buying fee to sell to buy the route, I mean, just anything and everything. What weekly administration fees are now, what warehouse rent is now, roughly what is the insurance on the trucks costing through the company. So I'm still waiting to get all of that. But if you're getting that route and you are required for a 10% down payment times 0.1. Okay, you're basically, if I'm figuring this up right, that $15,090, that's going to be the extra 1 to 1 ratio plus the 10% down. So you're basically going to do that twice. So you're looking at roughly about $30,200 that you're going to have to put down in order to buy this route. And if what Ken told me is correct, you are going to have to also have an additional $15,000 for that 10% down in the bank. So you'd be looking at like $45,000. I hope that they changed it to where they will finance over 10-1, but I have not. It has not been told to me if they have changed that or not. I see somebody else has joined us. Not the. Does that sound like something that you might be able to do? Okay, I think they didn't change that. Okay. Yeah, as soon as I get some of the answers from that guy Ron at the bakery or whoever, because he said he was going to have to forward it to somebody because it wasn't exactly in his wheelhouse. So whenever I hear something, I can pass it on. Because you should, in the Raleigh area, I believe you're going to be going with, I think it's Franklin Baking Company is the one that services the Raleigh area, I think. Whoever it was that popped into the room, you got any questions about any routes? Yeah, I can't remember which bakery it is. I'm wanting to say it's Franklin Baking Company because they go down towards the beach. Or I know they service like North Carolina coastal beaches. And I think Jamestown, I think they kind of go the Greensboro area, kind of going out towards the mountains down in, I know they service all the way down into Rock Hill, South Carolina. I think those are actually the only two bakeries in North Carolina. What do you mean by that, Titus? I don't understand. Is there have different between different bakery companies? Well, they're all owned by Flowers. Franklin Baking Company, I believe back years ago was actually it was an independent bakery, and then Flowers purchased them, and they just left the name the same. So it's still the same company, and they just bake different products. The way it works is like private label brand bread, like your see, I'm trying to think what companies Flowers services with private label now. Lowe's Foods, they do their private label. Trying to think who I know they used to do some. They used to do some Walmarts. I don't know if they're doing any of them anymore. But when you would get that private label bread, a lot of that type of bread, like the sandwich bread, the longer square loaf, a lot of times that was baked in the bakery in Alabama. And then the round top bread that was a little shorter, that was baked a lot of times in Lynchburg, Virginia. Jamestown Bakery there by Greensboro, they did a lot of Nature's Own white wheat. I believe they did honey wheat. So they have all these different bakeries that make products. You got like Oh, that's right. There's another bakery in Hickory. Forgot about that one. That was another bakery that they had purchased while I was working with them, and that is pretty much nothing but a bun bakery. Uh, they do nothing but hamburgers and hot dog buns out there. Um, oh, found out who the other person was that was on the stream with us. Um, but they bring all this stuff together. I mean, it's an amazing infrastructure that they have to do this stuff. Like, I know they carry tortillas again. I don't know I can't remember the brand that Flowers carries now, but it used to be the brand called Mikasa, which is what we had when I was there. Well, those were all baked in Texas. Well, they ship them all the way out from, I mean, a whole truckload of them would come to the Jamestown bakery, and then they would unload it and uh, separate it all out and put it back on different trucks to go to each warehouse. It's really interesting. And if you do get, no matter what company you work for, if you buy a route, I highly suggest, if you can, to go visit the bakery and get a tour. It is amazing on how they do it. It took me, I think I was with Flowers about 11 years before I finally got to get a tour at the bakery. So it was it's really interesting to see how they do it. What do I think about the Flowers route future? Honestly, I think what's going to happen with it is if they don't change their ways, I think they're going to have a lot of. I think they're going to have problems getting people owning these routes. I mean, they keep taking money from people, changing line numbers so they can put more money in their pocket and take more money out of your pocket. I mean, just some of the things that they do. I think it's not going to be a good thing for them. Because people will quit, nobody will buy routes. I think it will eventually. It may wind up being where they're going to have to go back to company routes, which could sink them because it's so expensive for the company to take on all the responsibilities of a bread route now that I think it's going to hurt them. But who knows? I mean, there is other choices out there. You have Bimbo Bakeries, which does Thomas's English muffins and bagels, Innemann's cakes, Arnold bread. They do Sara Lee, and I know they do some private labels. I think they still do Harris Teeters. There's of course, you got Pepperidge Farm bread, which if you ask me if I ever buy another bread route, it's going to be a Pepperidge Farm route because they're way easier to run. You don't have nowhere near the problems that you do with a Flowers or a BBU route, either one. You only service grocery stores with them. And well, BBU does too. For the most part, they do nothing but grocery stores. I mean, you also have Martin's potato bread. I've inquired about one of their routes before. They have 18 SKU numbers. I mean, and that's it. Yeah, Pepperidge Farm is a higher cost route, and they run anywhere from like 18 to 22, maybe 23 to 1. But everything on their commission, everything is 20% across the board. Where Flowers, each category of bread has a different percentage. Cake has a different percentage. Your white breads have a different percentage. Your specialty bread has a different percentage. So every route has a different percentage as far as across the board. My route that I had for almost 12 years, it actually I was right at 20% across the board. I think it was like 19.7, 19.8. Some routes maybe 16, some maybe 21, 22. It just depends on how much of each category you sell. But like I said, Pepperidge Farm is 20% across the board. I think the Bimbo routes, I think they're the same way. I think they're 20% across the board, but don't hold me to that. Martin's, I believe, has got a higher commission rate. I think they're like 23. But again, don't hold me to that. I think they are about 23. So I'm trying to think if there's any other bread routes. I don't think in your area, which being in Raleigh, should be about the same. I think those are about the only 4 that are on the bread rack, even up there. I mean, if you decided to go into chips or snacks, I mean, there's other routes that are available. Pepperidge Farm snack routes, I mean, they're a lot more expensive. They're like 30 to 35 to 1. But I hear they're very easy to run. You can make some really good money for that, but you've got to have a lot of money to put down on them. Utz routes, I know that Utz is just now starting to sell their routes. I have no idea about theirs, but I'm hoping to find out about these different companies. Oh, the Pepperidge Farm 40 to 1. Yeah, that would not surprise me. I know there was one guy down here in the Charlotte area when I looked up. I actually ran some stores with this guy. He's had his route for a long time, and I saw he had his Pepperidge Farm route up for $500,000 is what he was wanting for it. And when I figured it up versus what his weekly sales were versus what he was asking, it was something like 48 to 1. I was like, that guy is nuts. I wouldn't buy it. I wouldn't pay 40 to 1 for it. I think that the cookies are overpriced, or the snacks. I think they're way overpriced. I think they should be coming down more down to earth, about 25 to 1. Since I have you on here, let me ask you a question, something I've been thinking about doing and don't know if it would be an interest to you or not. I am thinking about talking with different companies, whether it's bread routes, chip routes, just tortilla routes like Missions, and possibly doing some videos and putting them on my channel, kind of like for sale. And because I know I've had some feedback that people like to see the difference in routes, and I didn't know if that'd be something that you might be interested in seeing yourself. Do you think my route 11 to 1 is expensive? For a Flowers route 11 to 1, no, I don't think that's bad at all. Because like I said, I've seen some of the Flowers guys, since they've been able to go over 10 to 1, I've seen them 15 to 1. So that's actually not a bad ratio price. I think that would be fine. This I'm very interested about it. About my videos, looking at other options. Cool. Yeah. Like I said, I've got email into Flowers Bakery there in Greensboro or in Jamestown about getting all the information I need to start this type of thing. And I've got a phone number for a guy with Pepperidge Farm. I have to give him a call and see if I deal with him or if there's somebody else that I need to talk to. And I just haven't had time to get in touch with him about it yet. So I'm thinking about doing this with all of them, just something to do, something different, because you don't really see much of this. It's, I mean, there's another guy that sells routes. I don't know if you've seen it, but it's routsforsale.net. He also has a YouTube channel, but I don't know exactly how his videos go. I don't know how often they do them, if they do them for every route or what. Yeah, I'm kind of the same way. I like to look at the business ideas, just some things that you may never think about and somebody else did, and It's like, oh yeah, I never even thought about doing that. But I've had other other people comment on that particular Breadman's video or Breadman's Life video that they like seeing what competitors are selling routes for and stuff like that. So that kind of gave me the idea. Does this fellow with that 11-1 route in Roxborough, does he know that you're really interested in that route and that you're actively going to try to get it? I'm waiting my company's license. Oh, are you incorporation papers through Flowers or through the state so you can get flowers? Is that what you're talking about? Incorporation? Because I do know that is another requirement if you didn't know. You have to do some type of incorporation. It's either going to be LLC or, yeah, Flowers required S Corp. Yeah. Yeah, they're requiring that now. One thing you need to look at is, I don't know if they're pushing it anymore, but I know there for a while they were trying to push DOT stuff on you, on all independent distributors for their trucks. I don't think it's really going on anymore, but that's already been proven that you don't need that. Because I fought them tooth and nail on that. They told me that I had to have DOT numbers and all of this, and I said no, I don't. And I mean, they gave us the phone numbers to people with the state to say if you have any questions. Well, I used that phone number, and they told me okay. They must have finally got that through to their heads that you don't have to do DOT, because they tried hard to get us to do it. Now, with that route, is it going to have a truck to come with it, or are you going to have to get one or use a pickup and a trailer? I have to lease a truck, $89 a week. Okay, well, lease on that's a little bit cheaper than what I've seen on some of them. I know with a lot of these newer, brand new trucks, that some of these guys have gotten, it's about anywhere from $215 to $230 a week is what they're paying for, and that does not include your insurance. Mine was when I had my truck, it was I think I paid about 138 a week, something like that. But I had an old step van, like you see some of these Frito-Lay trucks that just got the one sliding door on the passenger side. It's just a long van. I had one of those. Something else, if you get into this, call your local insurance guy about the insurance on the truck. Reason why: Flower said a long time ago that you could not take your insurance away from Tran Norris, which is the one that goes through, or that does DSD insurance for Flowers. I think they're based out of Georgia. But anyway, Flowers has a requirement that you need to have certain things on your insurance policy. When I switched and left, which Tram Norris was through Allstate, when I left them, I saved myself $600 a year by getting rid of them and going with my local agent. And if you need somebody for that, you let me know. My good friend that lives here in the Charlotte area, he's already got the template for Flowers, so he can go ahead and write you a policy and get it a whole lot cheaper than what you're going to get with them. It really depends. I mean, if the truck is so, let me ask this quickly. You said you have to lease a truck. Is the truck that to lease it, is it already one on the route that you would just be assuming the lease on? If the route is coming with a truck, okay, you're assuming a lease on a truck that's already on the route. Okay, that's what happened with me. Honestly, for what you do, I mean, my particular truck was a diesel, and it just happened to be one. It's granted, yeah, you get a little bit better mileage with the diesel, but you're paying a lot more money for fuel. The repair on a diesel is almost twice as high as a gas. And if it's one of the Isuzu NPR trucks, which it probably is, it's got the Chevy 6.0 liter motor in it. It's a really good engine. They last for a long time. As long as you keep the oil changed on them and keep the maintenance on them, they will last. The weak spot is it can be the transmission, as most Chevrolet just does not have a good heavy duty transmission behind a gas motor. Never have. And I'm sorry to say that, but I'm a Chevy guy, and I'm saying that. But it's just the truth, and especially when you're hauling a bunch of bread. For instance, there's a guy here locally. He would have his truck loaded from front to back, floor to ceiling, at least once a day, and he ran 7 days a week. He blew the transmission out on that truck, I think, with about 90,000. But he was hauling literally a ton of bread every day. So, if you don't have a huge route, you really don't need a diesel. Because most people, the biggest expense on your fuel that you're going to have is going from the warehouse to your route. And then you're going to be putting around town, hitting a stop here, and then you go a mile down the road, you hit another one. So with a diesel, they run on heat and pressure. And in the wintertime, it's really hard on them on the stop and go type things. They're more for a long haul vehicle or a long haul engine. They perform better that way. And it's really hard on starters on diesels too, when you're cutting them off and cutting them back on and all this. It's just really hard on them. And the starters are very expensive. 400 miles a week. That's about 80 miles a day. So that's a bit of driving. So you'd probably go through about, I'm going to guess, probably about 2 tanks of gas on that truck a week. It can be. It just, like I said, it just depends on the route. My particular route, I only drove 125 miles a week, but my route was only 4 miles from the depot. So some people, there's, some of those guys that I worked with, some of them drive 300-400 miles a week. It just depends on where your route is located on compared to your warehouse. But personally, I would not go with a diesel. He told me 180 in gas a week. Okay. At what price was the price per gallon was that? Was that a year ago when price was a lot cheaper? But I mean, if you go with a diesel, I mean, you're looking at probably buying a truck that's going to cost you another probably a $10,000 to $15,000 just to buy the truck. It's really not worth it. I would just keep the maintenance up on this truck. I want to show you something just to give you an idea. One of the guys that I worked with at Flowers, I do some maintenance on. I still do maintenance on some of those guys' trucks, like oil changes, and I did this one guy's spark plugs. And this is going to floor you. I don't know if you know that much about it, but he noticed that his mileage was going down quite a bit. He used to be able to do, I think he said 3.5 days on a tank of gas, and he was down to like 2.25, roughly. Well, I don't know if you know spark plugs at all, but that, you look, there is no electrode. It burned it all the way down. That was the spark plugs I took out of his truck. That spark plug electrode should be way up here, closer to that little piece there. So we estimated that he lost about 25% of his mileage because of those plugs being that bad. But he waited way too long to do it. He was at like 132,000, where GM recommends 100,000 to replace them. I'm thinking more along the lines of 80 for what those look like. But that alone, I mean, it's small stuff like that you just keep up on it. You keep up on the maintenance, and you can keep that fuel to that $180 a week. I mean, granted, unless the prices fluctuate. But so far from what you've told me, it seems to be that seems like it's a decent route. I'd really be curious to know how much, what stale percentage he's running, to kind of give an idea of how much you take out versus how much you actually sell, your net. Because I mean, if he's netting 15,000 a week, I mean, that's not telling you how much actual stale that he's pulling off the shelves and bringing back. I mean, is he taking 20,000 out and he's only netting 15,000, which means he would have a 25% stale, which would be way too high. Because trust me, you're over your 10%. Flowers is going to take money from you. Trust me on that. If you don't keep that stale percentage down, they will charge you back. But it will take you a while to learn it. They typically, I don't know if they still do it, but I know when I first started, they gave you 6 months stale free charges, because it takes you a while to get used to it. You got to learn the stores. It takes you a good year to know your route, because that way you go through every holiday. 8%. He's doing really good. If he's got 8%, he's almost right where he needs to be, because the way it was explained to me when I first got in, and I can't even explain it any better. He says, if you have as close to 10% stale as possible, that means every customer that came to buy your product was able to get what they wanted, and you didn't run out. Wasn't it you that had said something to me about this route had like 20 cash stops that did about $20 a week? Or I should say 20 cash stops that did about $20 a piece a week. Okay. Are those convenience stores, dollar stores, restaurants? What exactly are they, or do you know? Okay, so they're all of the above. Restaurant. Okay, restaurant's good. Okay, because the reason why I say restaurants are good, if you, and this is probably okay, 90% restaurant. That's really good because you put on here 8% stale. What he's doing is because you're the only bread supplier in a restaurant, typically you take out no stale out of restaurants. Typically, if you do, it's usually damages or a bag is busted open or something that you didn't see. It happens because you typically don't take out any stale. You can run your grocery stores, you can run more product in them to make sure you don't run out, because the lack of stale from your restaurants will offset your stale in the grocery store. You can run a higher stale percentage in your grocery store because you don't take out really anything out of your restaurants. So I loved having restaurants. I mean, yeah, they could be a pain in the butt, especially if you don't know you're ordering right, or if you miss like Hardee's was notorious for not letting us know about coupon drops. So then we're scrambling to try to find more product until our increased orders come in because they didn't notify us. But it's great because I could afford to pile in more bread in my grocery stores. That way store managers would be off my back. Oh, your stores are running low, or my store's too low. Well, low isn't out. And that's one thing you're going to deal with in this. You're going to have store managers that's going to come to you and they're going to tell you, I want my shelves full all the time. You cannot do that with bread. This is not Coke and Pepsi. This is not Miller and Bud Light. We can't do that with baked goods. We give you a little bit more than what you sell to make sure that you don't run out. That's all you can do. And you're never going to be perfect. And they need to realize that, because they can jump on more other vendors like Coke, Pepsi, beer, chips. They can really pack their shelves out all the time, and they expect the bread guys to do it too. But bread, you can't do that, because you're going to have on Pepsi and Coke and beer, you got 6-month dates on that stuff. Chips, you got 5, 6, 7, 8 weeks, whatever it is. Crackers, you've got 4 months on. Well, you've got days with bread. When I had my Flowers route, we had 4 days. The codes were 4 days. What I brought in on Monday, I had to take out on Friday. But that has since changed. What you bring in on Monday comes out the next Monday. So now you got 1 full week, which makes it a whole lot easier. You can work out of heavy, if you're heavy on products in a grocery store, you can work out of them a whole lot easier when you have that 1 week code versus the old 4-day code. So yeah, I'm trying to think if there's anything else that I can help you with, or if there's anything else that you have any questions about, because I can talk about this stuff all the time. I kind of hate that it's just you in here. It'd be nice to have a few more people in here asking questions. But if you don't have any more questions, I mean, that's fine with me, because I know that I'm only going to be able to go until for about another 5 minutes, 6 minutes or so, because I've got a webinar I've got to be on at 9. But yeah, if you get that route, just drop me an email again, and I'll get you in touch with my friend that does the insurance, because like I said, he's got the template for the insurance policy for Flowers, because he had mine for years. I think I had my insurance with him for like 9 years, up until, of course, when I left. Not sure. I'm assuming he still has some of the Flowers guys here in the local area, but he's also a broker, so he can go through about I think it's about 30 different companies to find you the best deal. Because Flowers is not the cheapest. I'm going to be honest with you. And as you go through this stuff, excuse me, I think my personal opinion from what I've seen, Flowers will push you on with Tram Norris DSD insurance. I know that when they were in the truck leasing business, truck leases were more expensive through them. I swear they make money off of all of this. I think they make kickbacks from the insurance. I think they make kickbacks from the truck. I mean, I don't know if it's still the same way, but the interest rate from the going through the company on the route, it was a 12% interest rate on buying the routes. And when you get to paperwork, it's separated 7% column and a 5% column. I believe the 7% was going to Bank of America because that's who they financed the routes with. And I think the 5% went to Flowers. So if it was all going to one same entity, why would you split it up in a 7 to a 5 and a 5% interest rate? And I know that they used to, when you purchase or when you sell the route, they charge you a 5% selling fee. So they make 5% for 10 years when you buy the route, and then they make 5% one-time fee when you sell the route. So, I mean, Flowers made a little bit of money off of selling bread. They made more money off of buying and selling routes. I mean, let's just be honest. I mean, I saw it for years. I mean, they definitely know how to do it. But if you go with the Flowers route, just be careful. I mean, I don't want to talk bad about them. I mean, these are just the experiences that I had. And from what I've been what I've been told is it's not that great anymore. It seems to be getting worse. But some people I've seen across the country, because they still have a Facebook group for independent distributors with Flowers that is a nationwide thing, and I'm still a member of it. Some people in some areas say that things are much better. Some of the guys I talk to here, they say things are worse. So I guess maybe it's just the area. And if Raleigh is going out of the Franklin Bacon Company, everything could be completely different there. I cannot speak for that one because I never worked with them because I wasn't in their area. Is there anything else I can do for you, Mr. Titus? Cool. Glad it helped. You have a good night also. And if you have any more questions, I mean, you got my email address. Just drop me an email and I'll see what I can do for you. Not a problem. You have a good evening.